Here's the last 24 hours in geopolitics. Two Russian aircraft briefly entered Lithuanian airspace from Kaliningrad during a refueling mission, according to Lithuania's military, prompting NATO jets to patrol the area. Lithuania's president condemned the 18-second incursion as a violation of international law, while NATO reiterated warnings to Moscow following a series of similar airspace breaches across Europe in recent weeks. Russian President Vladimir Putin warned that any Ukrainian use of US Tomahawk missiles would prompt a very serious, if not overwhelming, response, while affirming Russia's willingness to maintain dialogue with Washington despite the cancellation of a planned summit. He also dismissed new US sanctions on Russian oil firms as unfriendly but not economically damaging, arguing that pressure on Russia could destabilize global energy markets. Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orbán said Budapest is developing ways to bypass new US sanctions on Russian oil and gas firms, following Washington's measures against Lukoil and Rosneft. He argued Hungary must keep importing Russian energy to maintain low utility prices, despite US restrictions and EU efforts to reduce reliance on Moscow. US President Donald Trump warned that Israel would lose American support if it proceeded with annexing the occupied West Bank, saying he had assured Arab leaders that such a move would not occur. Vice President J.D. Vance called the Israeli parliament's annexation bill an insult, while Israeli Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich apologized for remarks mocking Saudi Arabia over its normalization demands tied to a Palestinian state. US Secretary of State Marco Rubio said Hamas cannot be involved in governing Gaza and that the UN Agency for Palestinian Refugees should have no role in the territory, calling it a subsidiary of Hamas. During his visit to Israel, he added that any future Gaza security force must consist of countries acceptable to Israel and that lasting peace could expand regional normalization under the Abraham Accords. US President Donald Trump announced the termination of all trade negotiations with Canada after accusing it of attempting to influence the US Supreme Court through a television ad opposing US tariffs. He claimed the ad misrepresented Ronald Reagan's stance on tariffs and called Canada's actions egregious, escalating already strained trade relations between the two countries. EU leaders postponed a decision on a proposed €140 billion loan for Ukraine backed by frozen Russian assets, opting instead to revisit the plan in December amid legal and financial concerns raised by Belgium. They did, however, approve new sanctions targeting Russian liquefied natural gas, cryptocurrency transfers, and tankers, while also blacklisting two Chinese refineries accused of processing Russian oil.